Hey guys, it's Mantrend1143. In today's video, I have blog episode number 16 here on the PRR Keystone. Since the last time I showed you guys the layout, I've done quite a bit of work to it, and that's going to be the main focus in today's video, so let's get going. Alright, so I've done a lot of work on the layout, although most of it has not been on the top side of the layout. I've done a lot of work underneath the layout, mostly wiring, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I do want to talk about some of the stuff I did do on the top side. So let's take a look at that, and then we'll go underneath and take a look at some wiring. Okay, so what I did was basically on this section here. So before, what I had was I had the passing siding back here, and it originally went back where the subway is now. But what I was going to do is in here, I was going to have a switch that would lead onto here, and that would also lead back onto here. Well, what I did was I moved it the other way around. So it now comes over here, and then there's a switch back over here that leads into a dead-end track that I'm going to store the subway on. So that way I can have it terminate here. So I think that's pretty cool, and I also wanted the passenger station back over here, so I originally had it back over here where those houses are, but I went ahead and moved it back here because I really just like the look of it over here. So I have it over here, and then I also have the Lionel passenger station right over here. So also along the back I rearranged these buildings, so I have the house, the train store, the guitar shop. I'll explain why that glue is up there in a minute. Then I have these houses, and then I have my custom floodlight tower, and that has red LEDs in it, and I'll see how I like that. I did like it originally, but I want to see it kind of in context what it would look like. I may end up changing it, we'll see. And then over here, this really hasn't changed too much. I had these two train stores, the train shop and the Eric's Trains, and then I did put back my MTH train store over here. I originally was going to just leave it in the box, but it just so happened to fit here really well, so I did go ahead and throw it back in here. Now these I don't have wired yet, none of these four lights yet, but I do have everything on this side wired in except for the banjo signal. I also have this wired in, and then I have that wired in as well. So let's go ahead underneath the layout, take a look at some wiring, and then I'll show you guys some new stuff I added. Alright, so here's what I've been doing for the past couple weeks. Get under here. Alright, so I've been doing a lot of wiring work. I've been using these terminal blocks right over here that I got on Amazon a couple weeks ago. And I have 3 of them down under here. I got this one here, which is for accessories, and I split it into half hot and half ground. So I have hot on this side, ground on this side, and these are for my accessories. This terminal block right over here is my outside loop of track, and then this one over here is my inside loop of track. So that's kind of how it goes. Now what I did for my drops on my loops of track, get out under here, I have 3 drops for each side of the track. So I have one right here, I have one over there, and then I have one over there for the outside loop. The inside loop, right now, I only have one over there, but I am going to add 2 more to this side, and then the other side I'm going to have another round of blocks just like this, and then they'll power the other side of it, and then I'll connect the 2 together and then run it to the TIU. So I've also done some other work down further along the line with wiring, so I'll go ahead and show you that too. Okay, so now we're in the middle between my 2 tables, and I can show you guys some more wiring that I did. Now, it's not as clean as the other side because I'm still working on wiring things in, but this section over here is mainly for accessories. So I have a hot board here, and then I have a ground board here. And this I don't have split, so I can do up to 24 plugs on here if I really need to, which I may, you never know. And then over here I have one that is for track power. It's the only one over here that's going to be for track power. And this powers my passing siding. So what I have is I have two drops. I have a hot and a ground on this side, and this side is by where the Eric's Trains building and all that is. And then this other side here, I have a hot and ground, and this is back on the side where I just showed you. Now, what I have is I have this red wire here goes to a clip and goes to my TIU, so I can disconnect the power when I'm not running it. Now, what I'm going to eventually do is have the grounds ran too. Now, the grounds, what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to tie them to a terminal block on each side of the layout. I'm probably going to have one when I do the ones over here. I'll just tie both grounds in, because you don't need to worry about connecting the grounds. I mean, you could throw them in if you want. They're connected to the main loop, so I just ran the wire just because I had it. Although it really won't do much, I'll just throw it in there anyway. So that's about all I have as far as wiring. Over here, there's not really much to see as far as wiring, because I haven't done anything really back here yet, but I will get to it eventually. But one thing I do want to get to is I want to start adding some strip lights under here, because the light you're seeing is actually the light from my phone. So what I want to do is I want to add some strip lights down under here and have them on like a switch, so I can turn them on and off and see what I'm doing without having to carry a flashlight or anything down here. So that way it'll be a lot easier. But that's about all I have for underneath here, so let's go back up top side and take a look at some other things. Okay, so now I'll show you guys some new things I got. So the first thing I got was this. This is an MTH cantilevered signal bridge, and if you guys remember a number of blogs ago, I forget what number it is now, but I did talk about adding this signal into the layout, and it was the first signal I was going to do, so well, here we are. Now, this signal's not wired in yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy some relays, and the relays will change the color of the light when I throw the switch. So what I'm going to have is, right now the switch should be straight, so this one would be green, this one here will be red. When I throw the switch, they would change colors. So that's eventually what I'm going to do for that switch, this one, that one, that one, and then the two back over there. So that way, when I change the switch position, the colors on the lights will change. And then I will have some in the middle here, but I'll just control those via ITADs. So I have like maybe like one over here, you know, that sort of a thing. And then those will just be ITAD controlled, so kind of like block signals. But I do want those other ones to be switch position dependent. And then I will do bidirectional signaling on here. So MTH makes another separate sale heads for this, so I will go ahead and buy those. And then over here I'm going to have a Penske signal bridge, and that Penske signal bridge, I'll buy the heads that these have, because I like the new style heads because I run diesels. So I'll go ahead and throw it over here with some ITADs, and then that will be that. And then another thing I got recently is this billboard right here. Now I had the glue over it because it was still drying, but it's the Support Our Troops billboard. My dealer had a whole bunch of them, and I was looking at this one or the Miller High Life beer billboard, and I decided on the Support Our Troops because I think that one's really fitting. So I do want to try to fit a billboard on the transfer dock. I don't know, because you got to be careful because of the moving people. I do want to eventually have the moving people work, but right now I don't have them on. But I don't want to drill into this and have it drill into the mechanism for this. So if any of you guys have ever drilled into the top of this thing and threw a billboard or a light or something like that in it, let me know, and I would put it this side, so it's where the bay loading section is for the truck. That's what I would do. So if any of you guys know about that, just let me know, 'cause I don't want to, you know, tempt fate and drill into this thing and break it. So, but speaking of lights, there we go. So there's the LED for the water tower, rather. Then I have the floodlight over here. This transfer dock. Now, I do want to add a strip light under here because it's dark over there, and I think it'd be kind of nice if I added a strip light there. So I probably will do that. And then I've also converted a number of things to LEDs. I've converted this building to LED. I've converted that house to LED, that to LED. That's got LEDs in it. That house has LEDs. These three will eventually get LEDs. That has LED, and then those two will eventually get LEDs as well. So, looks pretty good. Here's the Support Our Troops billboard. One of the bulbs wasn't working when I took it out, so I just removed it. I think it looks fine, so I'm not going to mess with it or anything like that. Oh, I also have this schoolhouse wire too. And then this here is also an LED. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to detail it. So I have the roof be able to pop off here. There you can see all the LEDs. And then I'm going to eventually detail the inside of this thing. So it's going to be really cool looking. And then these are still incandescent, and I'm going to leave them unless the bulbs do burn out, which they probably will eventually. And I will go ahead and replace them with an LED. And then that was a custom build I did. I had to actually install the lights on that one, but it was pretty cool. So like I said, I also have these track here hooked up to power, so I have the track power light on. And then this one here I'm gonna do the same thing with. I will add a light of some kind just so that way I can check it, make sure it's going, and then I will add that to the round of switches. And then I also have this bridge wired up too. So that's been about it as far as layout work. I have been thinking about doing some stuff which I'll talk about real quick, and then I'll run some trains for you guys. Okay, so really the only thing I've been thinking about lately is this upper level. Now, I've talked about it in the past, and I thought about doing a Y around here and have it kind of curve around and do another Y back over here. But I'm not going to do that really for two reasons. The first of which is the curves will be so tight that I really wouldn't be able to run much. I mean, like, I don't even think I get the subway on there because that needs 036, and this section here would be 031. And I thought about, you know, maybe having a tunnel or something up here, but that would only cover this side. That side would still have to be 31 because I would have no way of really bringing it out any. So, you know what, just so happens to be that way. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have a trolley, one of the trolleys that MTH makes, like this one right over here, that one. I will have one of the trolleys go back and forth, so I have it stop right about here, and then I have it end probably right there. I may extend it to there, I'm not 100% sure yet, but that's what I'm going to do instead of that. Plus another thing too is that I really don't feel comfortable running really heavy trains on here. I mean, especially like these Aces and things of that nature. I mean, these things are really heavy, and the last thing I would want to do is not have this thing supported well enough and have something fall and break. So with the trolley, I mean, they're $50 a piece. I mean, not that that means anything, but you know, they're not very heavy, so that way, you know, if they do fall and break, it's not the end of the world. But because one thing I'd be careful with are these upper level here is you have to protect the joint between the pieces of track. You know, supporting it in the middle, while it works, that's not really the point, because it's the joint in between the pieces that gives way, and that's what collapses. So like even here, I'm already going to have a problem with this, so I just have to be really careful and really plan very well as to how I do it. But some of these other sections shouldn't be too much of a problem, but that's what's going to happen on here. So that's about all I have for you guys. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of wiring work. I know it's not really the most exciting thing in the world, but you know what? You have to have a good wiring or else you're not going to be running any trains. So that's been about that. Oh, I also did mount my TIU down here. I know it's a rat's nest, but I'm going to clean that up eventually. So that's been about that. So what I'll go ahead and leave you guys with is some train action, and then next video update I'll hopefully have these buildings wired, and then I may even start back here on this track here. I'm not 100% sure, but I do definitely want to get these buildings wired in. So that's going to do it for me here. So let's go and run some trains, guys. I'll see you. Take care.